So, coming to you from northern Israel once again, and I am bringing you some news that you may or may not have read already. But analysis of it real quick. So, the news is that Hamas and Israel have been negotiating in Qatar again for a possible exchange of hostages and prisoners if there will be a ceasefire put in place. So, Hamas is willing to exchange some 34 Israeli hostages for some number of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons, people who are mostly convicted terrorists, people with literal blood on their hands, in exchange for completely innocent civilians and soldiers who were just, lawfully and justly doing their duty to protect their nation, who were kidnapped from their military bases during a high holiday, which makes them legitimate targets under international law, but it does not make them people that can be kept like animals without any human rights, without any prisoners' rights. Right? They're hostages, which is not legal under any circumstance, and they're being kept in conditions that are crimes of war. There is no doubt about that. And the 34 names that Hamas has given to Israel include some children who are obviously not soldiers. It includes some men and women, some of whom may or may not be soldiers. But it doesn't matter. It's 34 people, which is roughly a third, just over a third of the people that it is suspected of still holding in captivity that it took on October 7th. Keep in mind, there are also two Israelis, Arab Israelis, who have been kept in captivity since around 2014, 2015, both of whom entered Gaza somehow in that period of time, and they were taken captive, and they've never been released. They've been there for 10 years, 9 years, 10 years, which is insane if you think about it. And they remain in captivity, and Israel wants them back. So in total, there's 102 Israelis in captivity in Gaza. Probably at least a third of them are supposedly dead, confirmed by the IDF. It's interesting to know how they can confirm that without then going and getting their bodies, but that is reportedly the case. And the 34 people on the list are the same 34 people on a list that Hamas gave Israel before. So Hamas literally gave Israel nothing new. Saudi Arabia apparently published the list somehow, got a hold of it and published it. Who knows who gave it to them? And once again, Hamas is doing everything they can to keep as many hostages as they can because they know that's their only bargaining chip. And Israel is once again put in a position where it has to decide whether or not to do a ceasefire and a hostage/prisoner exchange. And, with a ceasefire on top of that, for a fragment, right, first a third of the hostages, right, instead of an all or nothing deal where they would get everybody back, which is what everybody wants, to get everybody back. But unfortunately, of course, Hamas does not care what Israel wants, obviously. Hamas is looking out for its own self-interest, and that is to stay in power as long as they can and to use the hostages as bargaining chips as long as they can, because they know that without any living hostages or even dead ones, they have absolutely nothing to stand between them and the IDF from absolutely decimating them or annihilating them completely off the face of the earth. And to be fair, It's a weird word to use when talking about them, but from a strategic point of view, you can understand why they would do that. They're idiots, but you can understand why they would do that. They think that that will somehow help them survive and stay in power. But I've got news for you, my fellow human beings, and especially for you who are pro Hamas. It's not going to help Hamas survive. Israel is coming for Hamas. Israel's not going to stop, even after the 100 hostages are coming home, dead or alive. And they better be alive, because the more of them that die, the more carnage there will be. And if you think that Hamas can't take any more pounding, believe me, you ain't seen nothing yet. Israel has a lot more at its disposal. And if you think the people of Gaza can't take any more pounding, you ain't seen nothing yet. Israel has a lot more at its disposal. And we know the Palestinians in Gaza know exactly where the hostages are. How else could they have confirmed to the IDF that precisely 34 of the hostages are known to be dead? They've obviously seen them, seen their bodies. They know they're dead. So we know you know where they are, you meaning the Palestinians in Gaza, because they're probably in your house, right? That's where they've been keeping all of them, houses and tunnels. So we know. And you say, well, 80% of the houses in Gaza have been destroyed. No, they haven't. Okay. When they look at sections and blocks, it's not 80% of the houses that have been destroyed. Maybe 80% of the buildings have some damage. That doesn't mean they've been destroyed. Right? It's not 80%. By the way, even if it is 80%, keep in mind, the population of Gaza has gone up since October 7th. So for all the talk of the G word, right? People accuse Israel of doing, Israel's doing genocide against the Palestinians. What kind of genocide is it where your population is increasing during the war, during the so-called genocide? It's an absolute lie. Everybody knows it. The Arabs are lying. The Arabs who are pro-Hamas are lying. The ones who are pro-Israel are not, obviously. But you have to remember, Israel is not the problem. Hamas is the problem in this case. Hamas needs to be excised, needs to be rooted out, needs to be cut out like a cancer that it is. There's just no question about it. Ukraine, love Ukraine. I hope Ukraine has victory and Putin goes to hell. All right. Peace to all.